thinks they know what I painted here?
Titanic.
How many people are here? Go ahead, just shout it out.
Oh, Titanic.
Yeah, right. So if in my if in my kindergarten drawing you could figure out that that's a Titanic, this is a pretty famous ship, don't you think? I mean, people see it, they know what it is. It was one of the greatest marvels of engineering ever made. It was said that it was made so well that even God could not sink this ship. And that's true. You can look it up on Wikipedia, and as you know, you can believe everything you read on Wikipedia, right? But it's true, that was what they said, that even God himself could not sink this ship. Now, this ship was designed to go from Southampton, England, to the other side of the Atlantic, to New York City. Anybody know how many times it successfully made that journey? Zero. That's right. 0 times. Now, what do your professors think of you if you get a 0% on one of your performances? Yeah, not very good. Anybody here know what sunk the Titanic? An iceberg. You're all wrong. It is actually
The water that.
That was a trick question. A lot of people think it was an iceberg. A lot of people think it's water. A lot of people think it was the captain. A lot of people think this, it was that. Some even people think there was a fire. Some people have come up with that. But you know what? That's not the answer. You'll know what the answer is in a few seconds. Now, anybody know how many people were aboard the Titanic when it sailed on April 14th, 1912? Anybody know how many people there were?
A lot.
It's okay.
10,400.
A lot.
I don't know, but I touched it.
How about approximately 2,200 people? This is bigger than any airplane that you could find today. This thing held a huge number of people, and some of the richest people in the world were excited to be on the maiden voyage of this great ship. 2,200. And there were some very poor people who were working in the belly of the ship. 2,200. And you had every type of person in between. And they all had the same fate. And it was tragic. But it was not an iceberg that sunk the ship. Do you know, a lot of people don't know this, that it was not the first iceberg that the Titanic had a problem with. And it wasn't even the second. You know, the captain knew there were icebergs, but he thought, you know what? I'm going to win a record for getting to New York City faster than any other ship ever. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'm just going to smash right through those icebergs, because I don't care. They knew about it. It wasn't this big surprise like, oh, iceberg turn, you know. They had other ships wire them saying, hey guys, there's icebergs ahead. You might want to be careful. You might want to slow down. You might want to go around. All this was known to them. They just thought it wouldn't matter. We're invincible, we're indestructible, we're going through it. And they broke through that first iceberg, not a problem. And they broke through the second iceberg, not a problem. The third iceberg, now that was a problem. But it was not the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. Now, there were 2,200 people on the ship, and they entrusted the captain with something very, very precious to them. Anybody know what that is? I'll give you a hint. They entrusted the captain with their
lives.
You know, the Bible says, what will a man give for his life,
That
right?
was sweet.
I mean, what is more precious than your life?
My anger's on.
If you're gonna die, do you care if the Patriots beat the Colts? Well, I might. But if you're a normal person, do you care what your professor thinks of you? Do you care that the girl you like thinks you're a dweeb? Do you care when you see the icy water of the Atlantic and you realize you're going down, there are no more lifeboats, what do you think of? Your life. And these people, these 2,200 people, put their life in the hands of this captain who knew that there were icebergs, who knew that he did not want to slow down because he wanted to win the record. You got this captain, he's sitting there he is, he's on the bow here, and he sees it, and he says, full steam ahead. And do you know how many people died that day? Anybody know?
Wow.
1,500 people died. It was said to be the greatest nautical disaster not in wartime ever. And it didn't have to happen. They knew the icebergs were there. They knew it. The captain was warned. But I want to get to New York City first. I want to get there faster than anybody's done it. And I don't care about the icebergs. This ship is indestructible. I'm indestructible. I don't care about the 2,200 people's lives that are entrusted. I want to get there and be put in history. And you know what? That captain is put in history. He is put in history in a very tragic, awful way. Can you imagine being the loved ones in England that knew about the tragedy but did not know whether or not your loved ones are dead? They don't know. And there was no internet, there were no iPhones, there were no CNN, none of that. So what they had in England by the dock is they had a big chalkboard, and it had two sides. And one of them said, one chalkboard side said, lost. And the other one, the other choice, and you better believe that if you lived in England at this time and you had a loved one, that was the question on your mind. Are they lost or are they saved? Did they fall victim to the arrogance of the captain, or did they somehow make it onto one of these lifeboats? That's all you care about. That's it. That's it. And if you were one of these people looking at the icy waves, again, you're not caring about your football team. You don't care about whether or not your child gets along with you even. It's as hard as that could be to believe. You just care about one thing. Whether you say you're an atheist or not, I propose that you are thinking about God. Is there a God? I'm about to meet him. If there is a God and I meet him, what's going to happen? That's it. Now, has anybody figured out what sunk the Titanic? Hubris. Oh, I'm on a college campus. Yes, that is the right answer, but I'll give you a little clue.
Arrogant.
In the real world, people don't say words like that, but that's okay. That's all right. Pride. It was pride that sunk the Titanic and killed 1,500 people. I am destructible. The icebergs can't stop me. I'm going to win that record. That is pride. And 1,500 people died that day. But how many people died eventually? In a percentage?
100%.
100%. Now, thankfully, because God is merciful, 700 people survived that day. But they all died. Now, I love speaking to a college crowd, but if there's something that I'm sorry, I have to tell you the truth, something about college students, I think, because I know I was there, I totally was there a long time ago, and you think you're indestructible, don't you? You just think, I'm young, I wake up, my back hurts. Does yours? Yours probably doesn't. I have creaks, I have things, I got 4 kids, they jump on me, they try to lineback me, I'm like, that hurts, leave me alone, But when you're in college, you just think life you are indestructible. You're going to get your degree. You're going to go out there. You're going to take on the world. And might I say, that's great. I don't want to quench that spirit, but don't be like the captain. Don't have pride. Know this, that 100 years from today, every one of us will be dead. If not, much sooner. And it doesn't matter how healthy you are, because a rock could hit you, fall out of a tree. I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just telling you. I'm starting to, I'm 37. I got to the point when I was about your age, all my friends were getting married, okay? And now I'm starting to get to the point where some of my friends are getting deceased. Now it's not happening that often yet, but it is starting to happen. And I talk to my friends who are 10 years older than me, and they say it's getting faster and faster. 100 years from now, every one of us is going to have something in common with every person on that Titanic. We're going to be dead. And there's something else that we all have in common. We all have sin. Every one of us does. How many laws do you have to break to be a lawbreaker?
1.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Come on. hey, I know I raped somebody, but I was nice to some people and I never stole a car. I mean, doesn't that count? That's a really sad-looking S, isn't it? Sin. We all have sin in common. And you know what sin does between us and God? It puts a big old line there. We cannot get to God because the Bible says the wages of sin is death. And they're not talking about just death, but spiritual death. Separation from God in a place called hell that was so horrible that Jesus Christ spoke about it so often because he didn't want people to go there. When you read the New Testament, pay attention to how often he warns people. He talks more about hell than heaven because you don't want to go there. It's a horrible place, but we are separate. We can't get there. I'll be good, I promise. I know I've lied. Who here has told a lie? Anybody? Put your hand up. Anybody with your hand down, you're a liar. Okay. All right. How many lies you have to tell before you're a liar, right? One. All right. Anybody ever stole anything? Come on. You're right. Of course. And what does that make you? A thief. That's right. Not a stealer. They won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Can you tell my hobbies? I like kids, I like painting, I like Jesus Christ, and I like football. And I don't play football. I know that probably surprises you, given my physique and everything, but I don't play football. How about blasphemy? You ever taken the Lord's name in vain? When you hit your hand with a hammer, how many of you say, "Oh, Osama bin Laden"? We don't even take Hitler's name or Osama bin Laden's name and use it as a swear word to express disgust. We wouldn't do that, but we take Jesus Christ or God and we put a curse word after it casually. And the Bible says in Exodus 20 that I will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Jesus said, you look at a woman or man to lust, you've committed adultery in your heart. If you hate somebody, you're a murderer. The standard is so high, we've all broken God's law. We are here. So what does man do? Every religion does the same thing. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be good, and I'm gonna try to make it to God because I'm gonna bring old ladies across the street, and I'm gonna go to church or mosque or synagogue. I'm gonna give money to the poor. I'm gonna be nice to people. I'm gonna kiss my Aunt Edna on Thanksgiving, even though I can't stand her perfume that she wears. I'm gonna be nice, and God is gonna let me into heaven. And you know what that is? That's like going before a judge. You say, I have just kidnapped a child and murdered them. But you know what? I want to tell you all the kids I was good to. Or how about this? Judge, I'll give you $100,000. You know what that's called?
Bribery.
It's called bribery, right. When you try to to go around justice, that's called bribery. God is perfectly just. You can't bribe God with good works. That's why the Bible says in Ephesians 2:8-9, it is by grace that you've been saved by faith, not of works, is the gift of God, lest any man should boast. No one is going to get to heaven boasting. No one is going to get to heaven as a good person, because we're not.